So I spent a fair amount of time this morning doing research on slit drums. Well, actually, I just Googled a bunch of stuff, but we'll call it research. So I was looking on the internet for slit drums. If you don't know what a slit drum is, I printed out some pictures. Here's a very basic one, and what these are is really it's just a box with slits cut in it, and then these different lengths of these bars in here you can hit with mallets to produce different tones. Well, what really struck me about slit drums is how expensive they are. One like this will run you upwards of about $200, and I thought, it's a box with slits in it. I think I can make something like that. Now, of course, I'm being very pompous by saying that, because I'm sure that the professionally made slit drums that you buy are very finely crafted, and the bars are probably tuned really nicely, and I have no doubt that mine will not be in tune at all. I'm just going to cut the slits at just kind of various lengths and see what they sound like. So what I did is I went through my scrap bin and found a piece of walnut. It's about 15 inches long, 5.5 inches wide. It's a 1/4 inch thick. I kind of wish I had a thicker one, but I think it will work. The next thing I've noticed about all of these different slit drums that I looked at is that they're all different. They all have different arrangements of the slits and the bars. Ones like this looks like they drilled a hole and then sawed out these pieces. There's variation in the width of the slits themselves. This one's very fine, looks like just the kerf of a saw itself. So looks like anything goes. Just got to figure out what I'm going to do. I've decided to make mine with 4 different bars to hit. And what I've done here is I'm just using a marking gauge and just making some straight lines on each side, and each bar will be 1.5 inches wide, and then there will be one center piece here, which I suppose you could also hit too. I've decided to cut these slits using a 1/4 inch straight bit on my router. Now, what I've done is, it just so happens to be that my router table is just about the right length if I put stop blocks on each side. So I bolted one on each side. I know this is the center. So then what I'll do is I'll turn on the router and I'll slowly drop this onto the bit and then feed it all the way through until it stops here. Ideally, I'll be able to get equal slots all the way through. Yeah? Let's see what happens. Sometimes it actually surprises me when things work that I've never tried before. But anyways, so what I've done is I put my fence back now so that I can cut the next pair of grooves. Well, that actually worked surprisingly well. So I'm going to have one bar here, 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 and here. I think I will go ahead and make the box, and I'm just going to use 1/2 inch plywood because, according to my research, the box material itself doesn't really affect the tone. It's really the top piece. By the way, also according to my research, most of these are made with rosewood. Seems to be the popular wood of choice, but I think any kind of hardwood is definitely going to work better than a softwood. And here's my box with the mitered corners on them. By the way, a while ago I made a video about gluing and clamping, and I forgot to mention my band clamp. If you guys don't have a band clamp like this, you should really get one. This is probably one of the clamps that I use more than any other, and what it does is it applies equal pressure on all 4 corners of anything. I use it for picture frames mainly, and you just tighten it down like so, and it pretty much does a good job of squaring up everything, especially when you have mitered corners. What I've decided to do to separate these bars is just make a little S-shaped curve on the router using that same 1/4 inch bit, one over here and one over here. And frankly, the reason why I'm doing that instead of a straight cut is I think that it'll actually be easier to do that by hand, whereas if I were to make a straight cut, I'd have to set up a fence and just try to get it really accurate, and this way, if I screw it up, it'll look intentional. And there's what my cuts look like here. They're not the greatest, but it's kind of cool. Well, I've cut out a bottom piece for the box, and while that is drying, I need to do something about those mallets. So I'm going to go see if my son will go over to the dollar store and pick up some super balls. Dude, it's man versus super balls!
Okay, we are entering the dollar store. Let's see what they have. Try out one of their new rubber balls. See? I thought this was funny. The 50 States of America 60-piece puzzle. Really? Shredded paper in a bag? This is what I call a rip-off. It looks like a lightsaber, but it's a robot sword. I think we may have a winner.
Okay, so, well, Wyatt managed to find the perfect balls at the dollar store. And actually he got a bunch of them so that I can use two. And these are really cool because, you know, they have a skull and crossbones on them. And I'm just drilling a hole in it. About like that. And then I can take a dowel rod and wedge it in there. As always, I am using large bricks to glue down the top of my box. And there we have it, with a coat of linseed oil applied. Yeah, man, what do you think? I think that turned out pretty well. That is the slit drum. Thanks for watching this video. Visit my website, woodworkingformeremortals.com, and I would also like to thank Wyatt for participating in this video.